All right, I think this is going. This is a bit hectic to get started here. My camera wasn't coming through, even though I was streaming last night and everything was fine, so it just like stopped working. So I was like, oh no. And of course, it's like right as I want to start streaming, so that's perfect. But I think it's working now. I can see myself on the interwebs. I'm just going to get this launched on TikTok as well, so I need one moment. And that's just because I was panicking because this thing wasn't going, but so just got a WordPress migration to Blazor. Cool. So just launching that. And I need one more second. Thanks, folks. I appreciate the patience. Okay, so we are going to be doing some coding today, which is sweet. So this stream at this time slot, what I've been trying to do is migrate my WordPress blog, which has been a total pain in the butt. Migrate my WordPress blog over to Blazor. So Steven Giesel has a Blazor blog engine, so I should actually get the link to that ready. It's early here, so I'm still kind of falling apart. Hello, Maria. Good to see you. I'm doing well this morning. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing great. I flustered myself because my camera wasn't working as I was coming on here, so now I'm like, oh no, everything feels like it's off, but it's actually fine. So I'm just going to put the link to the repository that I am using from Steven Giesel. So give me one sec. This is going into the chat. If you're on LinkedIn, you should be able to see the links come through in the chat, but they won't show up in the comments. Just a heads up. It's kind of silly how this platform works. Technically, only the I think it's Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube get the chat messages that I'm sending directly into their chat. So that's kind of a limitation of Restream.io. So thanks for understanding that. If I ever send a link like in the chat and it's not something that you can type and it's a pain in the butt, like let me know and I'll send it on the platform itself. And that way you don't feel like left out because you can't actually navigate and you have to type out like a full GUID or something ridiculous. Just ask and I'll put it there. But so I put the link to Steven's Blazor engine there. Awesome. Steven is here in the chat. So great to see you, Steven. So I want to give you a little bit of background for where things are at and what we're going to try to accomplish today. So full disclosure, I don't think I'm going to finish today still, but I actually think that we'll be in a really good spot to basically press the hammer and have it all migrated effectively. So what we had done before was we took the perspective of migrating a single post, and I don't mean actually migrating it to like put it into the database. I just mean migrating the format of it. So we started playing around with that, and what I was doing was taking the HTML body of the post, because on WordPress for me, all of my posts are saved as HTML. And in Steven's engine, we're able to use Markdown. And I learned this from Steven. I didn't actually know this ahead of time, but Markdown technically fully supports HTML, which is sweet. So it meant that I didn't have to do full migration of my existing posts. Like, I mean that a lot of the post itself already would render properly in the Blazor blog engine. So that's really good news, because otherwise there is a lot more work to do. But what we were able to do was take a single post and start looking at the pieces of that post that do not translate properly. So for example, all of my existing uploads, when I go to migrate to the new blog engine, they're going to break in terms of like the picture references and stuff. And that's because when I go to take down my old WordPress site, all of those pictures are currently on the WordPress site. I need them somewhere. So there's things like this. There's some stuff that's I needed to ask Steven for like member only posts, because I need to flag some of my stuff that's paywalled. So my newsletter that I have, is the archive of it is paywalled. So that was something. There's something called short codes, this concept where you can basically take a little tag that has an identifier and have the blog engine itself replace that tag when it goes to display it with some other HTML or Markdown. And this way, for example, if I have courses on like reflection or refactoring, what I'd be able to do is write the blog article and I could put a short code in the middle somewhere. And then I could reuse like a template for like a little course advertisement to say, hey, by the way, like I have a course on this. If you're reading this article and you're interested in the information, you could check out this course. So just little things like this that would make the quality of life for me significantly better in terms of migration. So Steven has done just an incredible job in terms of supporting me. It's been super cool because, like I said, he's in the chat right now. I think he's still there, but he's been joining the live streams and seeing where I have some pain points, and we've had good discussions offline and stuff. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is the support from Steven has been way more than I ever expected. So I'm very thankful. Now, that's kind of where we got to last time. And what I wanted to show and get to is being able to actually put the posts onto the Blazor site. But one of the things I've still been nervous about from a live stream perspective is I didn't want to open up my Azure portal and then spend all the time on stream tweaking things, because I think that there's a higher likelihood that I'm accidentally going to show something like secrets. And I really don't want to, like, you know, be on a stream, have some secrets exposed, and number one, not realize, or number two, like realize and then like have to shut down the stream and go panic and go reset everything. And I just don't want to be in that kind of position. So what I did over this weekend was I tried as best as I could to make sure all of my Azure resources are set up. So to go through the list of things, I had to set up a MySQL database in Azure. So the blog is currently hooked up to that. I actually have it deploying in Azure, so that was, I guess, a big step too. There is the Azure Blob storage is wired up. So what I also did was I took all of the picture uploads that I had on WordPress. They're now in Azure Blob storage. I hooked up the CDN to that as well. So that's the Content Delivery Network, if you're not familiar with that. CDNs are very important because when you have a website that's being accessed globally, you want to make sure that people are able to pull resources like images very, very quickly. And if you're not totally familiar with this concept, where you are geographically makes a big difference in terms of performance. So CDNs can be spread out across the world, and that way when you're trying to retrieve information, you can go to a closer CDN node to be able to pull content, and ideally it's significantly faster than going to the origin server to pull that data. So CDN's hooked up to Azure Blob Storage, which has all of my uploads. So this is good. I have Auth hooked up to Azure. I think I have all of the pieces hooked up to Azure at this point. And I ran a test over the weekend, which I'm going to explain this part in just a second, but I can have I basically imported all of my blog posts into the new blog. They're all busted, but like they work. So imported them all, and then I can drop them again. So in order to do that, I made one more little tool. We're going to merge this tool with the previous tool today. And then we're actually in this position where we can press play in the console app, blast in all of the posts, or maybe we just limit it to a couple, and then go look at how they're rendered literally online, like other people that are on the stream. You can go to the website, you can check it out too. And then we can say, okay, what's still busted here? And then we can go back, modify how it's being transformed, drop the stuff, rerun it, and see how it looks. So I think it's going to be a pretty cool exercise. I'm excited because we are so close to getting it done. Yes, and then Steven's saying for your images, you could name on your blob storage WordPress and put everything under upload. With this, every image URL should work with your WordPress blog. So yeah, thanks, Steven. I think one thing that I realized, because when I was asking Steven for some help around the Azure Blob storage stuff, something I was worried about before was that I needed to maintain all of the existing URLs for my media. And I actually think that that was an incorrect assumption on my part. So just to explain, when we have the blog posts on one site, blog posts can refer to each other, right? Like it's actually a strategy with search engine optimization that you want blog posts to link to each other. And that way you can have this web of links that make sure that your posts seem relevant with each other. It helps the search engine believe or rank that your pages are actually valuable and can relate to each other, that there's like some topical authority on your site. So if I were to migrate the posts themselves and the posts didn't have consistent URLs, like that would be a big problem for me because all of my internal links on my website would break. Not only that, I've shared out links across all of social media platforms for like 2 years straight now. Any post like that would also break because the post URL would just not be the same anymore. So that's one part. And I knew I had to tackle this, but I thought the images would be a problem too. And I actually no longer think that the images maintaining their full URL will be a problem because as I import posts, what I'm hoping that I can do is replace every single upload URL because they'll look the same. It will say like devleader.ca/WP, like for WordPress uploads, blah, blah, blah. I think I can literally just take the prefix of that and change it to the CDN because I did put them, and I think this might be what Steven's saying though, is like, I can put them into an upload folder, which I did in blob storage. And as long as I replace the prefix with the CDN prefix, I should be good to go. Otherwise, what I would need to do is just replace the full URL. So I only have to change the prefix. We will see that today, fortunately, because I think I coded that. But like I said, the posts aren't going to be perfect yet. But this is going to hopefully illustrate to folks, like this is the iterative process I need to go through to be able to do the migration at this point. So I think we're left, I hope, with the interesting parts. Because in my opinion, configuring things in Azure is kind of it's not like Azure specific. I don't like configuring stuff, like whether it's AWS or Azure, it's a pain in the butt. I don't like having to go through and be like, why can't I access this? Oh, it's because I didn't, like forward something or I didn't have auth for it. Like just a pain in the butt. So I'd rather just code stuff, to be honest. So I need to go pull something from my other machine because I was developing on my laptop to get this other piece working. So I'm just going to grab that. By the way, when I go through this stuff, the stream that I do in the evening, so for me it's 7:15 a.m. right now, I do a stream the night before at 7 p.m. my time. And I always remind people on that stream, if you have any questions about, like it doesn't have to be about what we're going through right now. If you have any questions at all, please just ask. I'd rather make sure that I can spend some time answering questions if they're helpful. If my answers are helpful, I mean. Okay, so I pulled that project over. Give me one moment. I will open it. And then I'm probably going to use this one as no, I'll use the other one as the baseline, but I need to show you both of them in action. So let's get this guy opened up. And we will use the old Visual Studio, not the preview one for this. Okay. And let me switch over to full screen. There we go. Give me one more second, actually, because I want to make sure that I get my app settings kind of hidden. Like I said, it's only going to take one of these silly situations where I'm like, oops, there's the password to everything. So this is a pretty gross little program, but I'm going to explain what it does. Oh, and Steven has a question, so maybe it's only me, but would be interesting to know how life is at Microsoft. How does Microsoft tackle projects, products, etc.? Sure. Let me spend a couple minutes talking about this before I dive into some of the code. Because if you look on my screen, we're about to see this super gross query, but we'll come back to that in just a moment. Spoiler alert. Yeah, so to Steven's question, like life at Microsoft, I think this is an interesting question to answer because I can guarantee that it will look different depending on who you're asking. and what part of Microsoft they're in. So for me, I'm on the side of Microsoft that's called Substrate, and Substrate is the platform that supports all of the Office 365 products. So like I don't work on Azure, I don't work on Windows, Xbox, and more joins. That's right. There's a lot of joins in there. So there's all these different areas of Microsoft, and because Microsoft is so huge, I don't I can basically guarantee that those feel like different companies entirely, just because of the scale of things. So within Substrate, there's hundreds of teams already. Like it's a it's a big space. So so Substrate, like I said, is the platform for all of Office 365 services. So what is life like for us? Even within Substrate, I would say it probably looks different in terms of how teams tackle projects. I can elaborate at least on how we approach things, and maybe some high level things. So, because of the scale and how many teams and stuff are involved, there is generally planning that's done at a high level. So, it will be done for like high level months at a time. So you might have like a either for a quarter or for like a whole half of the year, you would project out the things that you're hoping to accomplish. And then this type of stuff, it's it's not carved in stone, but it's basically your opportunity as a team to say like, here are the things that we plan on focusing on and where we plan to drive like improvements and things like that. And then you communicate this up through like leadership levels. It doesn't like go up to like Satya because that wouldn't make sense, but it does get communicated up through some senior leadership within our organization. And this way they have a holistic view of the areas that teams plan to invest in. And that doesn't mean that when it gets up to like the senior leadership level, we're not talking like, hey, we're going to go modify this class and we're going to add unit tests. Like, definitely not. They don't care. And it wouldn't make sense to communicate that. But we want to talk about the areas of investment so that we can make sure that we are both aligned from like business objectives. Like, say, for example, Microsoft is always focused on security. But if Microsoft is saying, hey, for this period of time, like we want teams to make sure that they are investing more into security, and maybe the next period it's like, this is the number one top priority. Like basically the focus areas can shift as a business, but there's always going to be things like security, trust at the top. Obviously, Copilot's a huge factor for us. So the business kind of sets these like high level goals. Like these are where we want investments, and then the teams basically come up with how are we contributing to that, and how are we contributing to like literally our team's like mission statement, right? So for example, I was on the deployment team before for Substrate. So the deployment team would be responsible for making sure that all of the Substrate services are deployed, as you might have expected. So that will mean that we want to focus on like how can we deploy things faster? How can we make sure that teams have visibility into their deployments? How can we make sure that if something has gone wrong with a deployment, that teams understand that they can mitigate it faster, like they can self-serve as necessary? So these are types of things that our team would want to do. And then we would go look at business priorities as well. And then we'd say, okay, if security is a priority, how do we make sure that what we're deploying is like literally signed, it's guaranteed to be what the developers signed off on, that there's like a chain of trust basically that's maintained. So like we would have to factor in these goals in our planning as well. But this happens at like a long-term scale, like on the order of like quarters. So like, 3 months at a time to 6 months at a time. Sometimes even like very high level, we would say like next year, we really want to make sure we're focused on whatever. But obviously, the longer you project out, the higher likelihood that like you're not doing exactly that. It's just inevitable. So once we have that kind of stuff laid out, then it comes down to like more execution. So that's where like I work with PMs to make sure that we're like strategically aligned with the business initiatives. And then within that, like, we'll have different engineers of different levels picking up different size projects within that. In my team currently, which is responsible for routing, so I'm no longer on the deployment team. I work on a team that does DDoS protection and routing for all of the traffic for Substrate. So like engineers would pick up different projects for this kind of stuff. And our team is pretty heavy on design documents. So people would pick that kind of work up, make sure that they are prepping design docs. And they don't like, it's not like document every possible thing. It's more like it's a tool just for communicating and making sure that people are aligned before building stuff. So when I say that we're heavy on design docs, I mean, that's the mechanism of communication we've selected, but we're big on communication, I guess, is the meta point there. But yeah, engineers would pick up work as necessary for larger projects and stuff, come up with design docs. And then we kind of have this iterative process of like, make sure people are signing off on the design doc. Once they have, start developing the work. If you need to go back to the design because things aren't panning out, you can go back to the design, make sure that you're bringing in the subject matter experts that we're helping review, that kind of thing. So overall, like it's definitely not like agile by any traditional sense, I would say, but I do think that we adapt like all of the time. There's always going to be stuff that comes up. And I think that's the thing that really matters is like when we need to pivot, we're having conversations like, hey, like this is important for the business, right? Like we need to shift gears on this. Okay, like let's have a conversation about what's most important, make sure people can wrap up work. And if we need to pivot, then we do. So I don't know if that helps. Another angle, how does your team surrounding deal with removing old features? For example, Google Apple are somewhat quick to scrap whole products. I'm trying to think it's a little bit unique because the teams that I've been on and had exposure to at Microsoft are very much like platform teams. So just for perspective, like as Steven's question, like if you're quick to scrap whole products, like we almost don't have that luxury on some of the teams that I've been on because the whole product would be like the deployment platform or like the routing architecture. So we don't have that same kind of like, hey, we're iterating with like customers trying to get, because I think if you're doing a lot more like either a website development, app development, like even mobile, whatever, and you have like more end user, like literally external users, you might find this feedback loop a lot more familiar where it's like, hey, we're trying something out. We're kind of getting a market fit, getting the user feedback, building, iterating. And if it's not resonating and the product is like not going to pan out the way that people expect it, especially as a business, then you would say, look, we got to pull the plug on this and get people focused on something else that we think is going to be successful. We don't really have that type of thing with the platform teams I've been on. And that's because we can't just like turn off the platform. We can't say, oh yeah, nope, like just turn it off. So for us, it's always like migration paths. So we will try things out and scale them up. And for us to answer Steven, from my perspective, I think the best way to answer this is like, there are absolutely pieces of technology that we deprecate. And I really appreciate my manager's perspective on this because I'm not a huge fan of just like rewriting stuff and being like, hey, we think that if we were to just rewrite it tomorrow, we could solve all the problems. But I think he takes a pretty interesting approach that I appreciate, which is like, if we have been iterating on something for years, so say we've had a product or service in place for like 5 years or something, and we've been iterating and optimizing and making it better and better, he does like to entertain, like, what does the next generation of this look like? And I think it's really cool because it gets us to ask these questions of like, is the architecture of what we have in place holding us back? And that means if we're like, yeah, like the way we've designed this is just like, it's not going to continue to scale. Do we go back to the drawing board and make the next generation of it? Is it something that we can refactor, slowly pull apart and build up the new pieces? But it's almost like this, I feel like it's a cool philosophy of getting us to question, like, we're not just stuck with some 15-year-old thing where we're like this is the thing, like we can't move away from it. It's constantly like evaluating it, which I think is cool. And then Steven's saying, from personal experience, removing features is rare. Removing products are more often than not just rewrites and migrations to newer tech. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of been, my experience. I know like within the routing area of Substrate, we have pieces that are like, call them like legacy. There's legacy code everywhere. And there's stuff that we're migrating. There's even stuff across the entire platform where we'll have like other platform teams that have pieces of infrastructure or like SDKs the teams are building on top of, and they'll say, hey, like we're deprecating this. And then it's like almost like a multi-year effort to phase this stuff out and migrate to the new thing. Because when you when you have this many teams building on top of stuff, it's like you can't just flip a switch and say, okay, everyone's on the new stuff. It's like, go coordinate with like hundreds of teams across, literally hundreds of services, and it's not going to be trivial. So definitely interesting. I hope that helps from perspective. Upgrade to Silverlight. Yeah. Silverlight too soon. Yeah, I hope that helps, but I enjoy it. I think it's cool. Yeah, I love the people I work with, and I think that makes a big difference too. So thanks for the question. If there's any other aspects of that you're interested in, I'm happy to share. But with that said, we can jump back to this very beautiful join. Sorry for your eyes, everyone. I understand that this query is about to be painful, but let me explain what this code's doing. I want to emphasize that this code does not have to be good. This code doesn't have to be good because it just has to get my stuff migrated, and then I never need to use it ever again. So I want to clarify that. That's why there's going to be stuff in here where you might be like, why would you do that? I'm like, it's just because it's quick. And that's exactly what this is. So let me explain how this beautiful query works. This is a SQL query, and it's terrible, but what it does is it's going to be pulling the information that I need from my existing WordPress site, and it's going to be pulling that stuff into these WordPress post records. So I'm going to have a collection of these, and this is all of the data, I think, that I need to take a post from WordPress and then operate on it to translate it into what's going into the Blazor blog. So I'm going to explain the pieces of this. I do apologize in advance. I didn't come up with the schema for the WordPress site. It's just how it is. So there's a bunch of garbage right here in the middle. And just to briefly summarize what all of this terribleness is, WordPress posts can have categories and tags. And you might ask, well, what's the difference? It's a great question. I think categories are just like a higher level of organization, and tags, you might argue, are like closer to something like a hashtag. Now, in the new world where we're going in Steven's blog, there aren't categories and there's just tags. The other thing to consider is that my WordPress site probably has a bunch of legacy stuff that's kind of trash in terms of categories and tags. Like, they're probably all over the place. I'm not going to use this migration opportunity to try and like perfect them by any means. That would be nice, I guess, but I'd rather just get off of WordPress. So basically, these two things right here, line 40 and 41, and then mixed with all this stuff in here, all these left joins, this is going to allow us to get the categories and tags, just to explain what that is. So a little bit later we'll see, but I'm going to basically merge these things together. And that way I have, and I'll make sure that they're distinct in case I had repeated categories and tags. But this way, in the final result, I will just have a set of tags for the new blog post. So that's the majority of the query, is just to get these two things right here. So it's not that bad. The rest of this stuff, obviously nothing too fancy up here. You might say, well, what the heck is this then? Basically, if I have a blog post that has been published, because I'm going to pull in a lot of draft posts as well. There's probably, I don't know if it's quite 100, but there's probably like, I don't know, like 50 or so draft posts I have that I kind of just put like the shell of a post, and then I've never gone back and like actually finished it. And it's just so that I could get the ideas written down. So I may never post them, I may scrap them, but I don't want to lose them from the WordPress site. So I am going to migrate them. But all of the ones that are published need to make sure that they have the permalink set up. So if they're not published, they've never had a link to the internet. But if they have been published, I want to make sure that I have this link formatted properly. And it doesn't fit on the screen, so let me just show you what it looks like so you can see. But basically, it's just to get the date segment written up here. So hopefully this becomes a little bit more readable. So devleader.ca, and then the year, the month, the day, and then the name of the post. Post_name is the identifier used inside of the database. It's not the title of the post, like that's friendly, but this together should give me a URL that links to my current website. And that way, when it comes time to operate on these things, I have the original URL if it's been published. Hopefully that makes sense so far. Steven saying, I don't want to see the PHP code behind that WordPress plugin. I don't want to see any PHP code. Sorry, anyone that loves PHP, but not for me personally. Yeah, so it's it is a little bit of a mess. This is the first query. I'm going to explain the second one, and I want to also mention that I did try to merge even more. So this query, I tried to merge into the previous one, and it became so slow that it just wouldn't finish. Like I even upped the timeout, and it basically just felt like everything was frozen. This query is responsible for getting the images of blog posts. And the way that that's done requires basically 2 levels of indirection. It's a bit of a pain in the butt because the attachments, this is kind of confusing. I just want to explain it briefly. The picture that you're putting onto a blog post becomes an attachment post. I don't know why. And then you need to reference that attachment post as the image. So it's kind of silly, but you need to have this extra join in here to get things done properly. All that I'm doing is I'm pulling that in for all of the posts. So this will basically give me a dictionary. So if we look down here, I say to dictionary, and it's going to have the post ID, and then I'm formatting. This looks pretty gross, but this is the CDN link. So anything that comes out of here will technically be an image, and we should be able to access it already on the Azure CDN. And how is that possible? Because I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, I uploaded all of my WordPress pictures already. So this means that we'll now have a dictionary that we can have mapped to the post ID, and we can get where the new featured image for the blog post will be. So now the next step that we want to be able to do, because we have all of the information necessary for a given blog post from WordPress. And again, this code, not a huge fan. Does it work? Yes, it does. That's what matters for now. So then we have this for each loop that's going to go across all of the blog posts. There's a few hundred of them, so it's not like I've pulled in, like a gigabyte or gigabytes of data or something like that. There's a bunch of posts. It's all manageable. But what we want to do is transform them into a Blazor post, because that's going to be the new format based on Steven's blog engine. So this part looks kind of gross. Sorry, I realize my head's cutting off some of it. Hopefully if I zoom out a little bit, that's better. Let me make this a little smaller. What this part does is, like I said earlier, I'm just merging categories and tags. And that's because in the new world, we will not have both. I never really understood why WordPress needed both. But whatever, we're just going down to one. And all that I'm doing is I'm using a hash set to dedupe these things. So again, like, is this the most effective way to do this? Like, absolutely not, but it's going to work, and it's not many of them, so who cares? I needed to calculate the reading time. So I just copied and pasted Steven's code to calculate the reading time. This is going to be a little bit unique because I think his was operating on Markdown. Now, with all of the HTML and how this calculate reading time is done, my reading times are probably going to be inflated. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm not going to try and make it more accurate. Steven's saying if scheduled publish date is from the blog, you don't have to set this. It's only used if you write a blog post now and want to publish automatically. Not that it does something wrong, I guess. Okay. Want to publish it automatically later. So, okay. So I don't need to set it. So, and maybe Steven, just to clarify, if I wanted to mimic the behavior of like a posted date, is it updated date or the scheduled publish date? Because I guess I see a potential for multiple things here. It's probably good to clarify because you're in the chat. This is my speculation. Updated date is purely tracking the last time a change was made to the blog post record. Scheduled publish date, I felt, because there was only 2 dates, I felt like it was multi-purpose, which was either you are using it to look up when to schedule, and it would also be if you've already posted something, like that was the date that it was posted. So yeah, maybe, I don't know if all of that together, if you can explain that a little further. So I basically just have them set to be the same thing because I wasn't sure. Oh, there is no publish date itself. Interesting. Okay. I am currently... How am I doing that? Oh, I think I'm hijacking the... Because for explanation, another feature that I was... once it's getting published, it would be set to null. Interesting. Okay. Good to know. Okay, so for extra clarity on this, let me pull up the blog engine just to explain. There we go. 1 sec. I want to navigate to the site. So this is the live site. It's on it's on the internet for real. So staging. What I was able to do was take oh, I don't have any blogs. So Steven's typical path for blogs, I think it's like blog posts, and then the ID of the blog goes up top. Okay, and that's how he's looking them up, and I think you can even have a slug at the end. The way that I need to do it to maintain all of my links, we had to go add support for something like this where I could put a date in, and then a month, and then, sorry, a year, a month, and a day, and then the slug goes here. So this is the, and I realize that text is small, I apologize, but I need this format in order for my posts to maintain their, I don't know, like to not break any links, I guess. So I need some type of date, and I guess I was, oh, did we already changed the code for this, and it probably is the updated date. Okay. I was trying to figure out what code is going to break, but we already used updated date because I remember talking to Steven about this over the weekend. So, so it should actually be okay. So your use case set update date and you're good to go. Yeah. So as I'm realizing I'm highlighting Steven's messages in the chat. You can't see what I'm highlighting. So, so he's saying this is effectively the publish date for all intents and purposes. So that's perfect. Okay. So that means if I go back to this code, I actually don't want to do this. I want to set this to null, it seems like. And I need to make this a nullable. So let me go back. Okay, so that should address this part, or these 2 lines. Updated date is effectively going to be the publish date. A quick question then, Steven, now that I'm thinking about this. If I were to update a blog post, so say I found a typo in a blog post and I saved it, is that going to change the effective publish date now? So say I have a post that I made on July 13th, 2024, and I was reading it today and I was like, oh crap, there's a typo. If I went and saved it again, is it going to change the effective publish date now? If so, I will probably have to go make a tweak, which is fine. I just need to plan for that, I guess. Oh, cool. Okay, so Steven's saying if you update, you can define whether or not you want to update the updated date or not. There's a toggle. Perfect. Problem solved. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. This is why it's so awesome to have Steven here, and I appreciate it. So the last part I was leaving off on was the reading time. If that's not accurate, I don't care too much. It'll be more accurate going forward. I have a typo that's supposed to say featured image. So the featured image URL. I don't know if Steven's blog engine will get mad if I don't have a featured image. I know that when we're creating the posts in the user interface, it does require that you set a URL. Some of mine from WordPress that are old just don't. So I was thinking like, if I don't have one, I'm just going to set it to be basically this placeholder. It's like a square banner image that says dev leader on it. And that way everything's populated. At least we should be okay. Let's see. And anything else in here? I don't have any fallback URLs. One could argue maybe I could put this guy into the fallback as well. Maybe. Whether or not something's published, I'm just mapping the WordPress status, which is published, to this Boolean. And I could put 1 million likes in here for every post, but I'm only lying to myself if I do that. So I think for the most part, this is a pretty straightforward mapping. So I'm not sure if anyone has questions about what they're seeing, obviously just put it into the chat. Cool. Okay. And Steven was just saying it might break if I don't have a URL. So I might as well just set it. So that's cool. Okay. Next part. Again, there's probably a way better way to do this. I'm just doing a whole bunch of inserts in a loop in a transaction. I don't care if it's not effective because it works. It took me, I think, a couple of seconds to go migrate my entire WordPress site running this. This looks pretty gnarly. I don't know why, but Dapper wasn't allowing me to just put the Blazor post into here. And I feel like normally I'm able to do that. So I know a lot of people use Entity Framework Core. I like using Dapper. And I like using Dapper because I like seeing the SQL right in front of me. And I realize that's probably really weird for a lot of people. And that's okay. I am not here to say that Dapper is better or worse than Entity Framework Core. I know Entity Framework is heavily used by everyone. I need to, and I'm hoping actually that using Steven's blog engine, because it uses Entity Framework, I'm hoping that I just get forced to use it more so I'm more comfortable. But I have always liked having the SQL in front of me. But usually what I've noticed with Dapper is that I'm able to, maybe if you use a record, yeah, I thought it was a record. Maybe it's not. Yeah, I think they all are records though. So anyway, yeah, usually like what I've expected to do in the past is like, let me just cut this out. Like I believe that I was able to do like Blazor blog posts just like this. And because all of the properties on this are these, right, are these parameters in the SQL query, I thought that this just worked. And I feel like I've used this before in many other places and it just wasn't working. So I remapped them all out by hand and now it looks pretty terrible. So whatever, like I said, we just need to get this to work. Like this is not going to be production code that's running all the time. It's only going to be getting multiple runs because the conversion's not going to be perfect. That's it. So what I want to do is, because I wasted a lot of time just explaining what all this does, but I hope it's helpful. I'm going to run this and I just want to run it and make sure that it's not going to fail to connect and put my password up. So I'm going to move it off the screen while I run it. I'm just going to press play. I'm not cheating or anything. So we'll go to the home page here. I'm going to press the run button, which I've just done right now. And what we should see is that all of my blog posts get migrated over. Hopefully. I've never run it on this machine. It shouldn't be any different. Okay, so it hit a breakpoint. It's about to go do all of the inserts now. I'll let you see the top of the bar here so you can see that it's running. So when we go to iteratively do this, we might just do a few blog posts at a time because the insert is going to be the slowest part. To read it and transform it took like 2 seconds, but I'm not doing like a bulk insert. I'm just being kind of stupid with it. But we could just do like 10 blog posts at a time and it would be done. Okay, so that migrated my entire WordPress site. It's really not that long. Okay, so if I go back home, let me go to posts, I guess. There's all of my blog posts, which is super cool. Let's go back home. Oh, this is probably cached, right? So let me log in. And I think that there's an admin setting, right? So if I go to show settings, invalidate the cache. Now, look at that. It's my WordPress site, but way better. And for reference, all of these things are in Azure CDN, right? So if we just open up one of these, again, it's not going to be correct yet, just as a heads up. Okay, so there's a bunch of parts in here that we know are not going to map properly. For example, one of the things that has to get addressed is I like having basically a table of contents directly on the article itself. Oh, and sorry, so I missed Steven's comment. For the Dapper thing, yeah, it's a runtime issue. It's not a compile time thing, which is even more weird. But yeah, like I said, I've been able to use I feel like I've been able to use records like that before, and it's been no issue. So I don't know what I'm missing. So you can see that we didn't do any transformation at all. That's not fair to say. We did extremely minimal translation, right? Like this is just an HTML article dropped in for my WordPress site. This is okay. This is a link. I wanted to see if there was a link to another article or something, but that one's on Substack directly. Pictures, like most of these, I'll probably want to center. So little things like that. Oh, we talked about this on the previous stream. We actually have a fix for it, but these YouTube links are supposed to be embedded. So Steven's saying what's currently not showing up is related blog posts. That only runs if you publish something via the blog. Okay, good to know. That's good to know. So for folks that attended some of the previous live streams, we will literally re-migrate this today, and we should be able to have these video embeds working. So the whole point of this is now we can see what it looks like, and then we can go figure out what to address and what's broken. So we have code that addresses this. That's great. There is no pictures embedded in this one. Let's go over to posts. Let's jump back because I haven't been writing blog posts since I've been working on Brand Ghost. Can I pull up my GitHub? One sec. It's kind of funny. Yeah, if you can see when I started working on Brand Ghost, right around here, basically, like this April timeframe forward. This is, if you were to look at when I started publishing or stopped publishing blog posts, it's basically like right around April. I just stopped publishing blogs because I couldn't keep up with writing blogs and working on Brand Ghost. I said, one of these things has to go and I want Brand Ghost to succeed. So, sorry. So anyway, kind of funny, which if you look at my blog posts, they're basically all, what's the word I'm looking for? Newsletter articles. This one is weird. Oh no, I actually I did write a blog post in May. Perfect. So one of the things we were looking at before is like, yes, the code blocks still work, which is cool. I'm referencing some stuff from Andrew Locke, who's an excellent .NET creator. By the way, Steven, who's in the chat that made this blog engine, is an excellent .NET creator. This is the entire reason I was able to find his blog engine. So like you can see, like these blog posts actually look pretty decent in terms of formatting and stuff. I'm trying to look for, okay, here's an example of a short code, right? Let me zoom in here. I already lost it. There it is. So you can see Ocean WordPress. This is a plugin I was using, and this is an example of a shortcode. So I will need to go back and figure out what shortcodes I need to make things work. So we can write a regex parser that looks for Ocean WP library with a square bracket, and then maybe I make a list of them, and then I have to go back and migrate them. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, Steven's saying interesting. Some of the messages sometimes get lost. I've noticed too, like right now, just for reference for folks, if I've been missing your messages, I just want to call this out. Restream is showing me that all 6 platforms are connected to the chat, but there's an order of magnitude more people on Twitter right now. And I've not seen one Twitter message come in. In fact, I only see them from Steven, which maybe that is the reality. So I'm just refreshing the chat on my side. I don't know if that will... So I pressed refresh. I lost every single message that's come through. So that's perfect. I had to share on Twitter yesterday, like, I think Restream has a bit of a glitch going on. Using tags leads to an exception. Okay. Steven, is that on my end? Like I messed something up, or there's a bug in the blog engine? Boy, I can't write. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's all good. Another thing I want to call out. So like this is a short code. I will have to map these. Something else. This is an SEO thing. Oh, interesting. Invalid JSON. Yeah. So let's go back to, I just want to lose this train of thought. So the tags, interesting. It does put, it should never be null. So I would think that, like, based on this logic here, that this should never be null, or even like empty JSON, because if it was, so like basically merged tags here should never be null, which means it must be at least an empty collection, which means when we to array it, because it's a hash set, when we to array it, it should just give us an empty array, which I'm hoping, if my logic is sound, that we're always at least serializing an empty array. And Steven's saying empty should be fine. So I don't know, but I can also like poke through the database and see what's there too. So jumping back to this is one of the things that I will need to find out how to migrate. I want to explain this very briefly. This one isn't populated, so it's a bad example. I'm going to jump back to an earlier blog post. This one still has a TBD. I never went back and did it. This is an SEO optimization, and I'm going to explain it briefly because some people, I don't know, you might be like, hey, I'm here for the C# and Blazor stuff, and that's cool. But I want to take the opportunity to explain a couple of things that I'm not an expert by any means, but I've been trying to learn along the way. So if we jump back to an earlier blog post, like this one, for example, you can see another short code up at the top. These links are still going to my old site, so that's cool. Dave Callan, shout out to Dave. But what I want to show you, hopefully this one has it at the end. See how there's a frequently asked questions section? This is an SEO optimization that tells the Google bot and other search engines, like you've probably done a search before on Google, and you'll see, I mean, a page of ads first because it's Google. How the mighty have fallen. And so you'll get a page of ads, and then beyond that, you'll get like one search result, which to Google's credit is usually like probably what you want after the page of ads. And then you'll see like a section that's just like questions. And then you expand the question and you get an answer and stuff. And that's like what this information is. So there are sections that you can put on with special tags that allow search engines to figure out if you have like formatted frequently asked questions. This one looks like it's okay, but that's not always the case. Like I already saw from the weekend, maybe I got unlucky, but some of them from the weekend when I was running this, you would see like basically some of the HTML stuff bleeding through. Kind of like, it was almost like meta tags that were added on by the plugin that in the WordPress plugin, it's able to strip out properly, but the markdown was like, I don't know what to do with this. So you would see above all of these titles, you would see like a crazy block of text and you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? But it looks like these are coming through okay. So I'm interested if I press F12, if we go look at this, for example. Oh, okay, you might, sorry, I realize the text is probably microscopic, so I apologize. But you see here, you can see that it says AIO SEO. So this is all-in-one SEO. That's the plugin I was using, as an FAQ block question. So what I was observing over the weekend was that these, where it says H3 with this class, like this was basically just showing up where the title was. So something was incorrectly formatted. But something interesting here is like, I don't know, like I basically, when I do this migration, I might accidentally break all of the SEO effort that was done to put FAQs in. So what I will need to do is go look at an actual web page. So if we went to the same link on my actual live website and we looked at the FAQ section, it might be formatted differently. In fact, I suspect it is, and it probably meets the standard spec that Google's looking for FAQs. So I will likely, and we're probably not getting to it on this stream, but I will likely need to go rewrite these sections as we import. But it's okay because I can drop all of these blog posts again and just re-import. I have an entire copy of my website right now, so I could turn off WordPress and I'm not going to lose the posts because I have a copy of them. So yeah, we're in good shape there. So I will have to address that. But I think the first thing that I want to do is, I'm giving Steven all my SEO secrets. He said I didn't know there was a structure for this. Yeah, this is one of the things, like there's a whole bunch of stuff like this. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but there's basically a bunch of meta tags for all sorts of, like, especially Google features. Like I don't have a recipe website, but you could do the same type of thing for recipes. That's actually one of the reasons why, like, there's a ton of effort that goes into recipe websites, because if you have a website with recipes and say you're writing an article and you're, doing a food blog or something, you can put the recipe in there. And literally when someone searches for like, what's the like healthy chicken recipe, like if Google has picked up your website, you might even have like a recipe on your page show up in the search results directly, and people don't even have to navigate to your page yet. So it's just this really good opportunity to get more visibility. So you can do this with books, you can do this with people. There's a whole bunch of different things. So I was trying to spend a lot of time every time I would make a blog post being like, do I have all of these boxes checked? And one of them in particular was for the FAQ section. And the other one, I'm pretty sure, this is not quite the same, but I'm pretty sure table of contents does help with SEO. That might be bullcrap at this point. I was trying to do a lot of reading, and I believe that I read that having a table of contents does help, but maybe I'm making that up now. Okay, enough blabbing. This is pretty cool. This is, like I said at the top here, the tags. I might spend some time trying to clean these up. I don't know. Maybe these don't work anymore. Oh, yeah, Steven, I don't know. Like, did I need to like, do the tags not work because it hasn't been posted through the site? Maybe. I should mention too, I was doing some other stuff on the weekend. So I was nervous that I have these landing pages on my existing site. So here's my existing site. It's awful. Every time I show this, I feel sick to my stomach, like the styling and stuff in the top. Like, this is not what it's supposed to look like, but it's like all the caching and minimization to try and make it faster, and it's still not fast. Makes it look like trash. But so I have like these course landing pages. So I wanted to make sure that I could not lose like devleader.ca/courses. So if we go back to here, I have like a courses section, and it's devleader.ca/courses. Obviously the staging part will go away. So the only things, like I had like a fancy button on the other one, right? If I jump back over, like it's this button that I can hover. But oops, wrong one, sorry. But like I can always replace this, that's fine. But all of these should work. So I got my course landing page. I had like a section for my newsletter, so if people were interested in subscribing to that, like there's a whole landing page for it. Products is just an external link, so it's just like Gumroad stuff that has a couple of things. But yeah, I was able to just drop these in super easily, which is cool. Yeah, and then so Steven's saying, okay, a couple things. So the tags might just have to wait a bit or hard reload. Okay, good to know. So it's good to know that it doesn't have to be posted through the site to pick it up. SEO is really difficult to find real evidence online, as there's so much contradictory information. Yeah, and it's always changing too. But it's I don't want to speak ill of anyone, because I'm sure people are doing it with the best intentions. But there are, like, as a software development content creator, like, I focus on creating content for software, but there are content creators for all sorts of other niches, and one of them is for SEO. And like the amount of information that gets published is like insane. And one of the tricks and like one of the meta points is like, if you notice how much people are publishing, like there's the secret right there. How do you get good at SEO? You post all of the friggin' time nonstop about everything that you possibly can related to it. It's really hard to not get picked up if you have like information on every possible aspect. Even if you've repeated it and you're saying it in different ways, you know, you search an SEO topic, you're going to end up seeing the same people that talk about it. It's just that it's a pretty crowded space, but you could argue that about a lot of niches. But anyway, yeah, you have some people that say like, oh, like this doesn't matter. And then other people saying like, oh, you're missing gains on your SEO by not doing this. And it's like, who's right? I don't know. Like, you know, learn about the stuff and then try implementing it and see what sticks. And Steven's saying, as the blog uses Bootstrap, you can use Bootstrap 5 HTML for your buttons to have the same style. That's great, except I don't know anything about HTML, so I'm going to have to learn some front-end stuff, unfortunately. If it was some back-end C# stuff, we'd be laughing, but I'm going to be doing a lot of crying, I think. Okay, so I think what I want to do is shortcodes will park for a second. I want to get the videos. Like this is a video embed. It should be. Let's do a quick check. Let me pull this back over so you can see it. WP block embed wrapper, right? This block here with this figure class, whatever, WP block embed align center. So I'm going to have to, and I think we did this on the previous live stream, which is what I want to integrate right now. We're going to take that code. We're going to drop it into this blog migration. I'm going to limit the migration to like 10 posts or something, just so it's faster. And we should be able to see that my newsletter articles, because they have videos, they actually embed properly now. So this is like a small little optimization we can make, and I think it's going to make things a lot better. Yeah, and Steven's saying, so like we were chatting about this slug, right? So basically this part that you see up here in the browser tab, like the part after the post ID, like there is conflicting information about whether this matters or not. arguably, you could say that, hey, look, what keywords do we have in here? Blazor, we have render mode, dependency injection, right? That's like 3 different key phrases that maybe would be helpful for search engines. Someone might say, like, that literally doesn't matter. There's no evidence that proves that that's helpful. And other people will say, well, those are literally keywords, so they're going to show up. How can you say it's not helpful? So in my opinion, a lot of this stuff, if it ends up being trivial to do and there's a chance it will help with SEO, I'll do it. Like, for example, the FAQ sections are very simple to generate. It's going to be a pain in the butt now that I have to migrate them, but that's a one-time thing. Yeah, and Steven's saying, to be honest, it doesn't hurt. So I see more benefits than downsides. Exactly. If you were like, hey, to go make this slug is going to take me twice as long than it would take to go write the post, then yeah, it's probably not worth it. You might as well go write 2 more posts, like, and not, do better on your SEO than focusing on that. So anyway, little optimizations, but let's go get this part working to get the videos embedded. I think that's a good next step. So I need to, first, I'm going to open up the other project I had. So let me do that right now. Should be this one. I think it is. Okay, so I had this article converter. I want to move this stuff over. What's a good way to do this? What is a good way to do this? I know what I'll do. Sorry, this is a little bit all over the place. I'm going to take the projects that are in here, and I'm going to go drop them into this other solution folder. So give me one sec. Sorry for kind of finagling stuff on the fly here, but I just need one moment. This is what you get for watching a live stream and not like a heavily edited YouTube tutorial. Because I end up doing this stuff when I'm making the YouTube videos, but I get someone to edit it all out for me so it doesn't look so trashy. Okay, so I have those projects in the folder. I'm just going to add existing project. Oh no. What happened there? Am I being silly? Add existing project. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's the different folder. So I'm going to pull in this one. And then I'm going to pull in the other one. This is the test one. So again, for folks that weren't on the previous stream, this is the previous like migrator code that we started with, and all that we did was we got to replacing, I think this was, we were replacing, we're replacing the HTML headers with Markdown so that they get picked up properly. We actually didn't make a regex replacement for the videos. I forgot. We proved that we could do the replacement and they would embed properly. And in fact, now I forget what what we settled on for it. But I'm going to go ahead and this isn't how I want to do it, but I'm going to basically make this a console application, and then we're going to reference it. So this is, again, not my recommendation. Console app 3, the software developers new folder 2. Yeah. Yeah. And the amount of console apps that are just sitting on my other computer, I'm surprised it was only 3. I think it's, it reset the counter, because I moved some stuff around, but it was definitely like in the 20s. So oops. We're going to go over to here. Yeah, output type I don't want to be executable. I'm just going to make this a class library, just as a heads up. And then we're going to add a dependency to it in here. Again, this is like, it's an extra project, totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. I just don't want to copy and paste stuff around because I want to keep the test working. Now, what I want to be able to do is basically, this is the part that does the insert. We are going to just do this part for now. We're going to take 10 blog posts. Okay, so this is not going to stick around. This is just for playing around today. And what I need to be able to do is make a, what did we call it? An article migrator. article converter. My naming is just all over the place. So article converter. So make a new one of those. And that way we can do this content part. So we can do our migrated. And I'm not using a cancellation token because whatever. Let me just spread this out. So we will take the migrated content and put it into here. Simple. Okay, so that means we can now iterate on, not that, on this part. And I broke some stuff. There we go. So what we can do is iterate on what's happening with the replacement. This part is, okay, I literally wrote the to-do list here. So we still have to do the video embeds. We have to do images to update them to the CDN. That's actually that should be a simple one. And this one will do the markdown. So if we go run this again and clear the cache, what we should see is that we only have 10 posts. And if we double check the table of contents that's built in, it should do the right thing. So let's just go run this. It's going to be sad because there's going to be fewer posts, but that's okay. Should go pretty quick. Okay, so that's done. We will go back up to the top in min panel, settings, invalidate cache. Ooh, so these are the oldest blog posts. I want to, I need the opposite order. This is the first blog post that survived. This is from, so this is real, by the way. I just want to show you because this is kind of crazy. In 2013, that was not my first blog post, the first one that survived my first host migration. And I was running my blog on a Raspberry Pi because in typical developer fashion, I'm not paying anyone for anything. I'm going to do it myself. Spoiler alert, it was not a good idea to do it all myself. I learned a bunch. So, okay, so the migration is kind of not what I want. So give me one sec. I want to reverse this. So let's do order by descending, posted date. Okay, so this should give us the latest ones. Sorry about that. But what I want to show you is that the table of contents is working properly. So there we go. I didn't even change the cache. I have a hiccup. That's weird. So here we go. Right. This is not my latest newsletter article. I guess I have to migrate more stuff from, I lied earlier. I said when I turn off my WordPress site, I have everything. I'm a couple weeks behind. I have to migrate again. But table of contents should now work. Right? This should now work because we changed all of these headers to be markdown. So just to prove it, maybe I didn't. Oh no, sorry. I'm being dumb. This is this is literally HTML now because it's in the browser. We were looking at this before over here, I think. So see how these now just have random markdown? This is what that regular expression was doing in the migration code, just as a heads up. So the migrator is doing what it needs to so far. Now what I want to do is the video stuff. So let's go have a look because there should be some videos at the bottom here. Sorry, there's 2 scroll bars, so it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so here's an example. So likely what I will need to do is have a regular expression that looks for this, but I'm trying to remember what we settled on, because there was a couple ways we could do this. I think it was it just a video? HTML video, because there was two things we tried and one of them did not work. And I think it was just video. So let me just try this. We're going to put this in here. And I think I usually do like, I think usually like that. But I had to use, this is the trick. I actually had to use the YouTube embed. Give me 1 sec. I have to pull up this video. You don't have to watch it. But on YouTube, there is a share button, and it gives you the URL in this format. Sorry, I lied. It's this format. So I think I need to, yeah, so that's what Steven's saying. There's something with the embed path segment, right? So we don't need this part at the end. The ID is the same, but instead of this watch, it's embed. But I think if I were to put this into this part down here, I think it works. And if it's not this, there was some other, it wasn't a video tag, it was something else, but for the life of me, I'm not going to remember. So which article was this? This was Destroying Momentum. So if we go save this one, this is the update publish date Steven was talking about. We're not going to press that. We're going to make it visible immediately. So this will blow the cache away, I believe. So that's what we want. And submit. Okay, so that's over here, 64. Do we get a video? Hey, we do. I didn't remove the other part, right? We will have to do that. But this is kind of odd. Maybe it's not video that we want. It's the player doesn't actually work. Come on. Is it just embed? Let me pull this one up. We did this before, so I apologize. I have it on my clipboard, so 1 sec. Double scroll bar fiasco. Okay, so here's the other one. Yeah, Steven's saying maybe in the network tab or console you can find the issue. You're probably 100% accurate. And I probably should do that. But here I am. If this doesn't work, I will absolutely go check. We don't want HTML. We want MP4. I think, because that's what I would expect. I think this might work. But let's find out. It was one or the other. This is kind of like the typical, like, if I just read the README, I would probably be okay, but no, not this guy. Oh yeah, these aren't going to work. Oh no. 1 sec. Sorry, I forgot. The table of contents that's on the page will not work currently. Okay, so it is the embed one. That's what we want. So if I were to click this now, you will see my beautiful face talking. So, and there's another thumbnail with my stupid face on it. So it is the embed tag that we want. Good news. Okay. So if we go back to edit, let's have a little look. Maybe I think I did this last time. I'm going to show I'm going to show using AI to go solve this for us. So one sec. I think this is kind of fun. So, okay. I'm going to end up typing some stuff into here. I just need to figure out how to get my windows positioned properly. And this is because regular expressions are a pain in the butt to write. So we could say, we know that we don't want this video one. This is wrong. But we have some structure that looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to basically ask ChatGPT to go write a regular expression that does replacement for us. So I have HTML that embeds a YouTube video, and it follows the following. I shouldn't say follows, has the following structure. Then I'm going to paste in this. I need to use a regex in C# to replace this HTML with the following. And then I'm going to give it this. One sec. This will need to work across videos of different URLs so that it doesn't just like hard code the URL. I want that to be variable. Please create the C# function. And I bet you it's going to work almost perfectly. So I'm just to try it. Just to try it. We're just going to copy and paste it directly into the code. And I lost everything. One sec. There we go. We're back. So if we go to the migrator, let's see. This is migrate async. So I think I mentioned this before, but this code is going to be extremely slow. With a whole bunch of regular expressions and stuff. Like, this is not going to be an optimal way to do things, but it really doesn't matter because we just have to do the migration once. Once. I shouldn't say once. It's probably going to take multiple attempts, but I mean, it's not like production code that has to keep running. That's my point. So we should be able to say, what do we call it? Output HTML. And this pattern is not quite right. I can already tell because, or maybe it'll work. I don't know if it's planning to match the whole string. But anyway, we'll find out. Let's just go run it and see. Yeah, Steven's saying there's also libraries that translate HTML to Markdown. Yeah, and I think you have, I think you're using MarkDig inside of yours. I think that can actually do a bunch of it, but I'm actually more nervous that it's going to cause, like, there's going to be things that it does well, and then there's going to be situations where, like, it doesn't work, and then I'm going to have to deal with, like, I don't know, like this layer of magic on top where I'm like, I don't know what I actually need to do here. Because like it's doing some of it and I have to do other parts. So that's why I opted to kind of just like do it the hard way, I guess. But so let's go see if this worked at all. No. And I think it's because the regex is basically looking for, let's jump back to the code. I think the regex is not factoring in that there's other text in the HTML. So if we go back to ChatGPT and we say, this does not work, the HTML for the source video embed can be inside of other HTML on a page. This needs to be able to operate on all instances of this text within the HTML. And by the way, I should mention this. I've been using ChatGPT like this a lot more because I'm finding that, like, I don't think that this is the answer with single line, to be honest. I've been using ChatGPT like this a lot more because there's some stuff that, like, I know how to do, and I'm like, it's just going to be faster if I don't have to think about it. And that way, when it doesn't work, I can troubleshoot it a little bit easier. But I still don't think that this is going to work. It's saying to use single line now. It used single line before. What did it change? Explanation of changes. Pattern adjustment captures a YouTube video after this. It's saying that that should do it, but I'd have to compare them side by side. Trying to do this comparison for me is not going to help my eyes at all. So let's go drop it in. What did it? Oh, it did change it changed it for sure. I was expecting to see differences at the beginning of the pattern, though. Oh, Steven's saying, I really like the VS Code plugin where you can add more context, especially because you can drag in project files to give it context. That's super cool. I almost don't use Visual Studio Code for anything except front-end development. And if you're familiar with the stuff I build, then front-end development is certainly something I don't spend a lot of time doing. I probably should spend more time on it, but so yeah, I do like using ChatGPT for this kind of stuff. The SQL query that I showed at the beginning of this for the migration, that was another one where I'm like, I know I can go figure this out, but like, I just don't want to have to think about it. And when I go to use it, I can see what it's done, and it's done like 90% of the work. And for me to do the other 10%, I'm like, it's way more effective. Now, I don't do that for everything because there's some stuff where I'm like, it's just absolutely not helping. And that's okay. And sometimes even like for more advanced SQL queries, there's times where I'm talking to ChatGPT being like, hey, like this isn't working. And I'm telling it why, like, you can't do this. Like that doesn't work. And then it's like, oh, sorry, I misunderstood. And then like gives me the same query back. And I'm like, oh, you still don't get it. So it's not perfect, but I think, you know, at least for my development, the stuff I'm doing at home, it is absolutely speeding up a ton of stuff. So I will continue to use it, but let's see how we did. Still no. So I genuinely don't think that it, we should do this instead. Let's grab some of the text out of here, because I think when you give it more context, it will do a better job. So let's pick here. How do I get more of this? Let's not do that. Let's go to the article itself. Sorry for jumping around, but this is how my brain's working right now. So let's see. I'm just going to give it this block of HTML. I'm just going to say, hey, it's still not working. Of HTML input that it will need to operate on. What does it mean it has to handle a variety of different structures? I'm still not sold on this. it's saying like it's pretty confident, but I honestly don't think it will. And even says like that's the output. I disagree. I don't think that's going to do it. But let's see. This is the third time ChatGPT at this point. I might as well have written it myself. Let's put them, can we put them side by side here? Let's see. I just want to see this part. So let me pull that back up. Right, this pattern. I don't think that it's changing this pattern sufficiently. It put a question mark in. That's the change. I honestly don't think that that's it, but okay, ChatGPT, you get one more shot. Oops. And then you're fired. Steven, for next stream, how about doing JavaScript and PHP in the backend? How does that sound? It sounds I think I'm sick that day. I'll be in bed for storage and XML file will do just fine. I mean, it might do just fine. That sounds like a lot of fun, I think, is how I would phrase that. Okay, let's go back. We're going to once again invalidate the cache, jump back over, check to see if ChatGPT knows what it's talking about. I still think no. And no, it doesn't. Okay. Now we have to think about things, which means I need to go back to ChatGPT. I need to see what I gave it as an input. So specifically, I think it's trying to match on too much stuff. Like we actually don't care about this. I care about this part. So if I realize my head is covering some of the regular expression patterns. Sorry, it's a nasty one. So what is going on here? Actually, there's another website I like using, Regex Storm. I'm not sure if people have used this. It's one of my favorites personally. So this is, oh no, ChatGPT, go away. This is one that I really like to use. And what we can do is I'm just going to take the text out of ChatGPT. So this is going to be the text we want to match against. I know that you are probably thinking, hey, I'm going to go watch this stream and learn about Blazor, and now you're watching me write regular expressions. Everyone's nightmare. So just to kind of see, I don't think this is matching at all, right? 0 matches. Let's kind of strip some things down, right? Oh, did it put slashes in there? Okay, one sec. Can already see like it's not. Okay, so, and anytime we have white space, like I don't just want to put a space in. So, but we're going to do it for now. Right, so I actually don't care about literally, sorry, this, is that Grammarly? Yeah, Grammarly, you're ruining everything. Go away. I only care like about this URL here. So there's a lot of stuff in the middle I just don't care about. So could we do something that's literally like, I don't know, like dot plus to Oh, there's a line break. Okay. I think that's, you know what? I think that's why it was trying to do single line. That's why. The single line thing is not right. So then we have some white space. Just want to check this. Is that, yeah. So again, I'm going to replace this with a white space specific match. I just don't know my regular expression stuff off the top of my head. I'll have to open the reference. And in fact, I just want to get over to this. So see how now we're matching all this stuff we just don't care about. Then I need a group that I'm going to say starts with https:// has some stuff. Why doesn't that work? Oh, new line, sorry. Okay. Right, so we need that, which is fine. And then it will have this. Really? It doesn't? Because I missed this part? Okay. So just to kind of, if you haven't used this tool, I love it because the visual. There's probably plenty of other tools that do a better job, or you're more familiar with them, whatever. I like this one. It's just one I found a while ago and I've stuck with it. But this is going to do mostly the trick for us. See how it's pulling the actual URL that we care about outside, right? Like it's matching all this garbage here. We don't care about literally any of it, but we care about this. And then I have to get all the way to the end here. So I need to be able to do some more white space basically, but I need to get to the point where I can do, I don't want to necessarily have to do this part. So not even on a new line. This is why, like, I can't really tell. So there, it matches the whole block to do a replacement now. The point that I want to get across here is anytime we have a new line, it's a little sketchy because you can, like, technically you could have multiple new lines. Anytime we have a space, technically, like, this could happen in the HTML. It's still valid, I guess, because I have a dot plus there, so that's cool. But there could be something where like this is still valid HTML, right? For me to have a new line here. See how it all falls apart? Like, not cool. So I could do like this kind of thing. Wherever I have a new line, I could say, well, you can support multiple new lines. That way, this still works. I don't like using new lines specifically like this. I'd rather match on just white space. But this is probably okay. It's probably okay. Thanks for nothing, ChatGPT. Embarrassing me on my stream. I thought we were friends. No single line. We're taking this right out. I am quite confident that that's the source of all evil. Oh, interesting. This replacement is I've never seen that before. I've never seen this. So it has the $1 that's supposed to be putting the group in there, but I've never actually used a regex replace like this. So I wonder what would be hilarious if this whole time it was working, but the actual string that it was dropping in was it was still garbage. Okay, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Let's I'm gonna run it one more time. If this doesn't work with the new stuff, I'm gonna put a breakpoint in there, which is what we probably should have done from the beginning. Oops. And we'll have a look at what it's saying. Okay, back to this. We go to the admin panel. We go clear the cache. We go back to the article. I think we're still screwed. Okay, it's not matching it. So, is that because... One sec. I have one more thought. I know I said I'd go to the debugger. I know I said that, but I have one more thought. Okay. It's not because there's extra text here. So let's go see. We should do, what is it called? Match. Let me do this. Var. I want to see if we get any matches. We'll start with that. The nice thing is the first post that we hit is the one that we're interested in. So do we get any matches? We do not get any matches with this regular expression. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. How is that possible? The HTML is what we expect, the pattern. So just for context too, I dropped it into these quotes, but it has the @ symbol out the front. So regular expressions get super stupid because there's like multiple levels of escaping that need to occur. So when you have a string that looks like var xxx equals, like if you were to put, just as an example, if you put a slash in here, like a backslash, it doesn't work because it's escaping this quote. So you would have to do this. So this gives you one single backslash. But if you put an @ sign out the front, you don't have to escape the backslashes anymore. So that's important to note. I don't know why this doesn't work. So maybe what I'll do is a new conversation with ChatGPT. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it, I have this C# function that replaces text using a regex. However, is not matching as expected. Here is the method. I need to spell method properly too. And then I want to explain to it what it's not doing. So I probably need to give it more context than that, but I just want to be able to kind of see if it tells me why. If it says single line, I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, did not say single line. The pattern has been modified to capture the video ID within the URL. Non-greedy matching. Optional carriage return for new line variations. This is what I was saying where, like, if we scroll back up to here, I was putting, like, this part is definitely different, which I think could be a source of error for sure. Non-greedy matching is used to account for varying amounts of text within the tags and attributes. Like, that's a thing that, like, I wouldn't do that properly. It's being more specific about the video ID, which is pretty cool. I think that should be okay. I think those are all the valid characters an ID can be. But basically, it was trying to make it more flexible. So I'm still not thinking that this is going to be the thing, but I think what we can do, I think I can rewind this. Nice. Okay, cool. We will try to see. We still get no matches. Can we do... ignore case, maybe? Still no matches. Oh man, I thought this was going to be an easy one to do, but this is a total pain in the butt. This is why we don't like using regular expressions for anything. So it's funny because if you're watching this, you might have already said, well, why are you doing this? Like, why don't you just go walk through the text, go find a location of this? Like, we could literally go write logic to go like parse this out and split the string up and join it back in. Like, we probably could have done that faster than this, but I'm being a little bit picky about the fact that I want to see this part work because I feel like it should. Something else that it did that I'm not a fan of, I'm just realizing this now. Let me pull my original code back. One sec. It's pulling the URL out of a spot that I don't want it to because I don't care. It's pulling it out of the comment. So this is my original one. I'm just going to put them side by side so you can see what it's doing. In mine, I was saying, like, I don't care about all this stuff. Just get me to the part inside of the HTML element. And it's saying, we're still in the comment. And there happens to be a URL. Like, let's go use that. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want to pull it from inside. Neither are working, though, so who am I to say? I don't know. This is probably a really simple thing, and unfortunately with regular expressions, like, if you have one character off, it can break the whole thing. So probably not going to be super effective to go waste more time on this right now. But this is the idea. The same thing that we'll want to do for images, right? So do I have... Yeah, we should have an image on the blog post. One sec. Okay, so this one here. Open image, a new tab. You can see that this is on... See how it says like www instead of staging? It's not coming off of the current site being served from Blazor. This is on my old WordPress site. And even when it's on Blazor, it will not be served from staging. It's going to be served from the Azure CDN. So we could go write a regular expression again to go do this replacement and basically look for, let me just kind of show you quickly. Let's do another tab. So if we have this input, okay, and then some other stuff. The idea is that we want to make sure that we can pull off everything after uploads. So we want to match this entire thing, but we want a grouping that's after uploads, because what I can do is take the Azure CDN prefix and replace the whole beginning part. So I need to look for this, right? And then something like dot plus, and then I think, how is this going to look? Like dot .webp or dot .png. I am not a regular expression expert by any means. This isn't the right thing. I need these guys, I think. I need parentheses. So to explain what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a regular expression that's going to match just the part after uploads in a group. And this way I can refer to it. And you can see in this tool, it's telling me, I'll scroll down a little bit there. It's telling me that this is the piece that I'm going to be pulling out. And that means if I had this, and then I had a PNG, they both get matched. There is going to be JPEG. There is going to be JPG, right? These ones don't work. So we can go say, cool, no problem. Let's go tack those on. Right, so this is a way easier regular expression, fortunately. And I think, man, I think even on this one, it makes me, no, never mind. I'm getting nervous about the beginning and end matching, but it doesn't matter. We don't want to match the whole string. Forget that train of thought. I think we can go write this one, and we can prove that, going back to here, I think we should be able to prove that, where was the article? What? Oh, man. I'm in the middle of running it in debug, and it hasn't imported all the articles again. But anyway, I think there's an article that we were just looking at that had the course advertisement, and we should be able to prove that we can put the CDN prefix in front. So I think that's an easy one to do. I said that last time though, right? So who am I to say? So let's go do same type of thing, convert image links, or let's call them URLs. And we can basically, I don't know why I copied and pasted all that. We certainly don't need all of that. The replacement, again, I've never seen this syntax with $1, so I'm very curious about how that works. $1. I'm going to keep the matches in here just for testing when we go through this, but we should be able to do basically the exact same thing. I'm going to update the regular expression here. Right? So again, we have the @ symbol out the front, so I don't need to escape my backslashes. The backslash that's here is to escape in the regular expression the period, because the period character will match on any character. And I'm trying to say, don't match on any character, match on a period. So now in group 1, according to this, group 1 should give us this part. So far, so good. Which means that I want the replacement to be, where did I have this part? I want the replacement to be this. Because this is the Azure CDN. And then if we put $1 after, just to pull this back up on the screen one more time, if you imagine after Azure CDN /media, then we have the link to the picture. That should be the blob ID that we have. It should be. So I think that should work. Famous last words though, right? Let's go see. I'm basically like 0 for 100 on regex attempts so far. Matches. We have 0 matches. Come on, man. What am I doing wrong here? Someone who's smarter than me, tell me. This is nuts. Do I have these? Don't tell me that I have these out of order, because that would be super embarrassing. Input, and then the pattern. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So let's try this just to prove a theory. So if I said html.index of this, we should absolutely see that there is something in here. Really? So in all of the HTML, you're telling me that sounds made up. I know this is really difficult to read through, so I apologize. I'm not expecting you to know. But I found it, so what am I doing wrong here? I have it highlighted, so let's see. Hopefully you can see that on my screen, right? I just want to move this window around so we can see it at the same time. HTTPS : oh. I found the issue. It's right here. That's not HTTPS. Why isn't it HTTPS? That's so dumb. Okay. Just to make sure I don't miss any other stupid stuff, let's go back. I'm going to put this right in front. Let's look at these side by side, right? So basically, if I can check for an S or not, the whole beginning of that looks right. So that's so upsetting. HTTPS ? I think actually fixes it. Just to prove it. So we do get the index of match. We do get one match because there's only one picture embedded in here, just to show you. I realize the text is super small. I'm sorry, but it gets the whole match. If we look at the groups on it, it should have 3 because the extension was the third one. The 0 group is just the whole match for those that aren't familiar. And the 1 group is going to be the part that's inside our parentheses on the outside. So that means if we go to do this, it should actually work. And I'm going to take off this breakpoint. This part we know still isn't working. That's okay. That's an exercise for another day because the entire process is going to be iterative like this. So now if we go home, there's no post because we have to clear the cache. I will invalidate it. We go back here now. Moment of truth. Ready? So the picture still works. If I go to open image, a new tab, where is it located? Azure. So one of the regular expressions worked. Yay. There's got to be something really stupid with the other one. So I apologize for wasting so much time on that. But I'm going to wrap up the stream here, folks, because hopefully you can see that this is the iterative approach that's going to be happening. The one final thing that I'll mention is that what I should do is basically rerun the tests and prove that like now I have the feature that should transform my uploads into Azure CDN references. So I should update this one and go look for any uploads and basically map the thing over. So now I have a test that I can do a regression against. And that way, as I'm adding more functionality, I don't end up like stomping other replacements that I'm doing. So I should be able to catch it early. But I think that's it. I do appreciate you tuning in. It's probably more regex than anyone wanted to see at this time of day. So I'm sorry, but it's got to happen. So thanks. The blog should get migrated relatively soon. So I'm very excited about that. I appreciate you being here. I will be doing the same thing next week at the same time. And Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. So basically the evening before, I do a live stream on general software engineering topics. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Wherever you're watching this right now is exactly where I'll be. If you didn't enjoy the platform you were on, you can watch it on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Not Instagram for the coding ones because it's vertical and you would be very upset. But for the The Monday night ones, I do them on Instagram as well. So wherever you want to watch, just tune in there. But I appreciate you being here. Thanks for hanging out for some regular expression.